Микрофон я включил. Todo correcto? Gracias. Is it everything okay? I'm here again. Is it everything okay with voice and video? I am ready to continue my stream. Hello. Somebody can hear me? Hola. Si es posible escucharme? Escríbame, por favor, algo. Ajá. Okay. Good. So, frankly speaking, probably it's better to start with h6. It's more flexible move than queen f6 because h6 is useful anyway. But after h6, I have no obligation to play queen f6. I can come back to standard plan with knight f6 and castle. For example, after knight bd2, I can play knight f6 as well. Although queen f6 is logical. Venga la gente. Aha. Entiendo. Queen f6 is also possible to prepare knight g7 and then knight g6, probably depends what white is doing. So probably h6 is more flexible than queen f6, but I played queen f6, a4, and now again h6 is possible. As I explained it, because a5 is not threat at the moment, I can take with bishop, not with knight, as I explained it, but with bishop is fine. If b4, I can play just a6. Even probably a5 is possible, b5, knight e7, but also possible with idea knight g6 and another knight on e7, so probably it's possible. But a6 probably even more solid. Idea to prepare knight g7 and then probably castle. Somewhere bishop g4 is possible like idea. But I played knight e7. It's a little bit more tricky move because white can play bishop g5 somewhere. Knight g5 is not a good idea because black always have castle, but bishop g5 is somewhere possible. And if white plays b4, of course now to play a5 is not so good because after b5 black has no square e7 for his knight. Knight d8 is possible with bishop g5, queen g6, but knight on d8 looks like less active than on e7. So I played a6. Is it everything okay with voice and with video? Good, good. So I played a6, he played bishop g5. He is trying to realize that I'm playing without h6. Another very logical idea was to play bishop e3 here, of course. White wants to spoil my pawn structure. If I'm taking, my queen on f6 is a little bit misplaced. So after this. So, of course, It's playable position, castle, knight bd2, for example, but white has some ideas to attack in king's flank. So queen e1, knight h4 can be in future like idea. So bishop e3 looks like a very solid idea in this position, but he played bishop g5, queen g6, and knight bd2. So another idea. If I'm playing f6, I will have problem with short castle. If I'm playing h6, he wants to play bishop h4, and after bishop h3, bishop g3, it's possible. So, and another my problem that I cannot castle because after b5, I'm losing the piece. Although maybe I can play castle. Castle immediately also. b5 is coming and I'm losing the piece. f6 not possible because of pin. So, but I find bishop h3 very creative resource, and so now I want to explain that my queen on g6 is active piece and I'm ready for attack. So g2 pawn is weak, so g takes h3 is forced. Of course, I have threats to play h6 or f6. So he took my bishop and h6. Now, however, white has choice. There are several options. During the game, I expected king h1, h takes g5, rook g1. It's logical option. Now my pawn g5 is attacked. I hardly can take on f2 because if bishop f2, knight takes g5 is coming with unpleasant threat against f7 pawns. So my plan was to play f6, and now white cannot play immediately h4 because bishop takes f4, and this idea if rook g2, bishop takes h4. So after f6, the most logical to play queen f1, and this position is pretty unclear. But I don't think that black is lost here, so queen h5 is possible, for example. If bishop e6, probably knight g6 with idea knight f4, but it's very complicated position. This was what I expected, but Jan Krzysztof played h4, h takes g5, and now, okay, if white takes with pawn, it's obviously white king is some danger somehow. I don't know if black has concrete way to realize maybe queen h5 is possible, and then knight g6, knight f4 is coming, something like this. And he took with knight, and now knight d8. So I protected my pawn f7, and I have threat f6 to win the piece. Of course, immediately f6 was not possible because bishop f7 checks. But knight d8, so I played knight d8. White has no time to defend his pawn h4 because f6 is threats. For example, if knight f3, f6, white is losing the piece. So king h1 is more or less forced, rook takes h4, and now white has several possibilities again. So he played rook g1, it's possible, but not only moves. Of course, white can play several moves. Even f4 is possible to consider. Also possible to play knight df3 or knight gf3. But okay, rook g1 is now. White is attacking indirectly my queen. Bishop f2 looks like bad because rook g2 is coming. If bishop goes somewhere, white has knight takes f7. And this, but okay, after rook g1 I have time, so I'm attacking his weak pawn on h2. He played knight f3. Not obvious choice. Maybe rook g2 was interesting as well, but I don't know what is this. Maybe knight g6 I can play. So if queen b3, I can just ignore white's threats because I have strong attack against h2 pawn. So this was more or less my plan against rook g2. He played knight f3. I played rook h5. Again, white has choice. He played d4. It's far from obvious. Okay, but it's difficult to say what is obvious at all in this position, because this position looks like very wild. D4 is logical because white is defending f2 pawn, and also they are trying to organize attack against black king in the centrum, but standard categories in such a sharp position not always works. So maybe white has better moves. For example, queen f1 is possible to consider. Simply protect the pawn and consolidate the pieces. Maybe a more active move queen b3 was possible as well. Immediately attack f7 pawn. And what to play? If f6, bishop f7, there is idea. Knight takes f7, queen takes f7, king d7, queen e6 check, something like this. If king e8, white at least can play queen f7, and to make draw, probably white can play also for win somehow. I am not sure. Knight f7. Okay, maybe it's not so good because queen f4 is coming, but at least white has draw. You can see after queen e6 and queen f7. So queen b3 was logical opportunity. But young Krzysztof played d4. E takes d4, a5, intermediate move. But now the problem, knight c6 I played, and white has two weaknesses. One weakness is d4 pawn, another weakness is h2 pawn, and not so easy to protect all. If queen b3, I will just take on d4. So I think queen b3 was stronger than d4. But okay. d4 he played, a5 he played, and knight c6. And I have strong contraplay. Okay, maybe white can play e5. So ignore my threats, just continue to attack. If bishop takes d4, e takes d6 with idea d takes c7, and somewhere check from e1 or from e2. So e5 was logical more or less, but no, also this idea this, if knight e5, queen e2, something like this. But okay, so e5 interesting, but young Krzysztof played rook g2 and I took the pawn. So now I have extra pawn. So knight takes d4 is possible, knight takes f7 is possible, but I can take. And for example, if takes this, I can consider rook h8 even. If immediately knight takes d4, knight e5 may be even possible, because if knight f5, I can take and take on c4. And after queen e2 check, I'm not losing the piece because I have knight e5. So maybe even knight e5 is possible. And my king is in the center, but I have my own trumps because h2 pawn is always hanging. Okay, maybe now bishop e2 also is strong. And if rook is coming somewhere, knight f5. So big. Queen d5, where queen d5? Was question about queen d5, but in which moment queen d5? In this line, okay. Yes, queen d5. Yes, you are right. Yes. So after knight takes d4, better to take. But anyway, knight e5, even bishop e2 is strong with idea knight f5. But totally correct. So queen d5 is probably winning move. So after knight f7, knight takes d4, I should take on d4. This is much better. And now, if queen takes d4, I can play knight e5. This position looks like playable for black, because my knight on e5 is very strong. And if take immediately, queen takes d4, I can play rook h8, and white is just losing because they cannot protect h2 pawn. If queen c4, king f8, and white has no checks anymore. So bishop takes d4, of course, the best way. Knight e5 is bad idea. So bishop takes d4, queen takes d4, knight e5, and this position during the game I consider it like it should be fine for me. I wasn't totally sure, and I'm not totally sure now. Well, for example, bishop e2 looks like natural move to defend against knight f3, rook h4. And what is this? I have no direct threats, but okay, maybe queen f4 is coming, so it looks like my knight is stronger than white bishop. So I like my position at least. Rook on d4, rook takes g5. He played knight f5. Now I have pawn up, and my position looks like quite good, because his king is weak as well, not only my king on the center. So knight f5, queen g6, also queen f6, but it's probably the same. So anyway, he took on g5, queen takes g5, so I have pawn up, and nothing especially dangerous. No, for example, if he plays naturally, something like this, I can play g6, rook g1, queen f6, more or less protected. Or queen f3, he can play queen f3. I can start, okay, after queen f6, probably he can play rook d1. Now g6 is not possible because knight takes d6, but I can play something else like knight c6, for example. But after queen f3, maybe g6 immediately. And now after rook g1, I already have queen f6, because knight takes d6 doesn't work because queen takes d6. Why evaluation is better for white? In which position? So after knight f5, evaluation is better for white. Or what do you mean? This position is better for white, or another position? Of course, queen h5 is possible here. But after queen h5, king e7, and I can take on f2, and okay, so at least hard to believe that white can be better here. More likely black. Okay, so about strategy, we can discuss for a long time. So for today, it's better to focus attention in concrete position. So I don't know why this position can be considered like better for white, because maybe there are some hide resources. Okay, maybe queen a4 check is possible. With idea queen d7, but anyway, if queen d7, I can just play g6, and I don't see any special dangers for black. Also, just a moment. After queen g6, maybe. And now queen a4 maybe was possible. Yes, now queen a4 is interesting. Because now if king f8, white has rook g1 without taking. And this is unpleasant somehow for black. So probably queen f6 was more precise. And now queen a4, king f8, now rook g1. But now he can take and rook g1 probably. Just so this is interesting moment with queen a4. I totally missed it during the game. So he took on g5, and also now he could okay, now king f8. If rook g1, I have queen f4 with strong contraplay because of check from f3. So this I have seen, but probably more precise was immediately queen a4 without taking. Hello. So it's big question if I played correctly queen g6. Probably queen f6 was much more precise. After c6, okay, looks like dangerous. White can take on d6. Okay, maybe it's playable, king f8, but okay, maybe it's also playable, so c6 is possible. White has also rook g1 as well. After rook g2, rook takes g2, and black is losing g7 pawn, and looks like bad news for black. So queen a4 was really strong resource here, but young Krzysztof missed it. He took on g5. Queen takes g5. Now queen a4 is not so strong anymore, so he played b5. He's trying to organize attack on queen's side, but it's not so dangerous for me. A takes b5, I played g6 was possible, but I was worried about b takes a6, g takes f5, a takes b7. After knight takes b7, white has queen d5. After rook b8, white has a6, and I wasn't happy to see such a pawns. So a takes b5 is much more logical. Bishop takes b5, king f8, a6. Now I spent a lot of time because my first idea was to take on f us on f2. No. I considered something. I played rook b8. What was? I'm trying to understand what I calculate in this moment. So b takes a6, rook takes a6. I am just under the pin. Okay, I calculated something, but unfortunately I cannot remember what I calculate. Bishop b6, maybe I calculated. Maybe bishop b6 I calculated. I considered many moves here, but I don't remember now variations. So maybe even bishop b6 was possible here. But anyway, rook b8 is rook b8 is logical move, and here I spent a lot of time. I played queen f6. I considered b takes a6, queen takes c7, rook takes b5, something like this. Spend a lot of time here. But he is just taking on a7 and it was not so clear. But okay, finally I played queen f6, very logical move for consolidating my position. Now if rook g1, I have g6, everything is protected. He played rook d1 and I played bishop b6. Probably now. Now b takes a6, I consider it, but anyway, queen takes c7. And if rook b5, I calculated something like rook d6, rook b1 check, king g2, queen g5 check. So knight g3 was unclear for me, but then I realized that he can simply take on a7, and probably this position is good enough for white. At least white has good chances for draw, even after g6, queen d4. So I realized that bishop b6 is simply stronger. And he played f4, I took and played g6. So knight g3, queen f4. I have already, okay, f4 was not necessary, of course, so he had some better moves. He could take on b7 probably, so, but anyway, black is better, so I have pawn up without serious compensation, and my king is not weaker than his one. But after f4, after g6, knight g3, queen takes f4, looks like game is over, because I have two extra pawns without serious compensation. But okay, at the moment white have active pieces, so they can try to organize attack and against f7 pawn, so still not so clear. But I have another question, if everything is okay with my stream. So if video is fine, if voice is fine, please confirm me it, because if nobody writing, okay. So rook f1 played Jan Krzysztof, queen e5, good square for queen, because it's very far from white knight. Все чудово, гарно. В цій позиції теж в мене все чудово. Ну, але подивимося, що буде далі. Bishop c4, logical move. But white has no special threats, so black totally can think about bishop c5 to prepare rook b2. Also, h2 pawn is very weak, but okay. King e7, not so natural, so king g7 is more natural, but after king g7, white has queen g2 with idea knight f5, so this was reason of king e7, less natural square for my king. Bishop d5, he played knight e6. Everything I'm doing fine, so queen g2, rook h8. So it looks like time to resign for white, because black totally consolidate his pieces and is it everything okay with stream? Hello? 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 It's fine. So objectively, black is totally winning. And according to Vadim Milov, who was looking this game online, in this position, I had approximately 6 minutes against 10 seconds of Jan Krzysztof. So result of this game is totally clear. Black is winning. So what else can happen? But he played knight e2 and okay, so this move knight e2 only required from me to make last effort in this game. So rook h4 I should play, and game is over. Oh, Bishop e3 is possible as well, but rook h4 I like more because I'm preparing knight f4. So after bishop e6, I can just take with pawn, and white cannot take on g6 because of mate. E4 pawn is attacked, so if not take on e6, what else? White has no good moves. If knight g1, bishop takes g1, so white can just resign here. So it's okay. Queen g3, it's possible to play endgame without two pawns, but of course this is not. It cannot be considered like a real chance for white. Rook f4. So after rook h4, game is totally over. But I played rook h7. Why? So probably I decide that game is over. Okay, objectively that's true, but I can explain why I played rook h7. So my first idea was to play queen g5 to exchange queens, but I have seen that this is not possible because rook takes f7. But anyway, why I need to exchange queens if I have very strong queen on e5 against a very passive queen on g2? So just improve my forces. So rook h4 and also, so it's after rook h4, it's not possible not win this position anymore. But I played rook h7 and totally forgot that he can take. And he took, and suddenly after f takes e4, knight f4 is coming, and he has unpleasant threats. It was it was a big surprise for me. Bishop takes e6, but okay, I was sure that anyway I will win this game, and I calculate variation. I took on e6, knight f4, queen e5, knight d5, king f8, and he cannot take on g6 because of mate. And I played this without checking. So this was critical moment of match. So of course I should play king d8, not obvious move, but very strong move. And after king d8, okay, despite white has more active pieces, but anyway I have excellent chances to win because I have two pawns up and white has no real threats. So queen a2 not possible because e4 pawn is hanging. So rook b1, for example, not possible because rook takes h2 and queen takes e4. Somewhere even I can consider idea rook h2 and queen e4. I don't know in which moment. For example, here, of course, black should play for win with rook h4, but this is drawish idea. I should not play this, but important to see this. So after king d8, I have still have excellent chances to win, especially against very bad time of my opponent. I have two pawns up, and my threats are not weaker than threats of my opponent. Okay, probably white has some chances, but only to survive. But without checking this variation, I played king f8 and totally missed knight f6. Wow. And I cannot play rook h4 because knight d7. So I play king g7, only move. He took. Play king h6. He played queen d2 correctly. Now I cannot play queen g5 because rook h7 check. So I played g5, queen g2. Okay, now my position is bad, but I still have some chances after king g6. If, for example, rook f5, queen f1, rook f1, queen e5. So, okay, h4 is possible. Okay, maybe white is winning. Maybe black can hold this position. So but I was so disappointed that I played bishop e3 and totally missed mate into. So this was finish. So in such way, I lost second game, and instead of 1-1, 0-2. And after this, so I started to play game 3. So probably I was totally shocked with the result of game 2. And in game 3, I played according to my preparation against Caro-Kann. So he played Caro-Kann instead of French defense. I played d4, d5, this line. And at the moment, the most popular line is c3 to prepare bishop d3, knight e2, for example. Castle, queen c2, rook e8, knight e2. This is very popular line now, or immediately knight e2 is possible. But okay, so bishop c4, I played already against Anton Guijarro, and my motivation was if Karpov played bishop c4 in his match against Viktor Korchno in Baguio, so this move cannot be bad, and it looks very logical, and it is logical, but okay, so he was very well prepared. Bishop e7, because if queen e7, white can play bishop d2 and then long castle. White is slightly better because of pawn structure, but bishop e7, it's last word of modern theory. I knew this, so I played knight f3, castle, castle. Knight a6, this was my game against Anton Guijarro, rook e1, bishop d6. And now against Anton I played knight h4, which wasn't good move. But now I played bishop d2. It was improvement, which I decide that bishop d2 is better than knight h4. So knight h4 is dubious, my game against Anton, because after knight c7 I have no time to create real threats. For example, after queen h5, black has bishop e6 and g6 is prepared. So knight h4 is dubious. So I played bishop d2, reasonable choice, knight c7, queen d3. Ну, що я можу вам сказати? Я відповім українською мовою, що, розумієте, от є таке слово «якби», і воно має чудодійну властивість, я поясню яку. Що коли, наприклад, от ви починаєте якесь речення, і на початку того речення вживаєте слово «якби», то далі ви вже можете говорити практично все, що завгодно, без обмежень. Тому що от на початку речення стоїть слово «якби». Так і тут. Якби... Ну, я вважаю, я би виграв матч. Ну, принаймні, мав би величезні шанси його виграти в тому випадку, якби от друга партія закінчилася моєю перемогою. От зіграв би я турою на H4, там, довів би партію до перемоги і... Ну, думаю, цього ніхто не може знати, ніхто не може довести, але думаю, що шанси на виграш матчу у мене були б дуже великі. So I explained that if I would won second game, I think that my chances to win this match would be very high. So I played queen d3, and in my analysis, it wasn't preparation exactly against Duda. So I analyzed my game against Anton, and I decided that this position is slightly better for white. So I considered three options. Okay, what I considered. So if rook e8, I can just take and play rook e1, looks comfortable. If bishop g4, white has idea to play h3. If bishop h5, knight h4, and then g4 is coming, also good for white. What else? If knight d5, bishop b3 is possible with idea to push c4. And, okay, bishop e6 is possible, but after bishop e6, I can even take, because if takes with pawn, I have idea queen b3. If takes with knight, I can play c4 to prepare knight bishop c3. So this position looks like slightly better for white. But he played a5, probably it was preparation. Yes, so if I explain it by theory. If you trying to build sentence and put if on the start, after this if you can add anything because you have if on the start. So a5, it's probably it was his preparation because he played a5 instantly. Okay, so it's logical move. He has threats, very primitive threats, b5 and a4 to catch my bishop. So, for example, I will illustrate. It's very primitive, but just illustrate. The idea is always useful. Okay, so after a5, it was necessary to think about new position. But I played a4 just by hand, so without any thinking. Although its position it's not so clear because it looks like white has better pawn structure. It looks like development of pieces, at least not woes for white. But white has problem in this position. His problem is bad knight on f3 against pawn on f6. And the black knight is much more mobile than white on f3. So because of this, situation is unclear. And probably a3 is better because after a4, this is a positionally risky move because after knight d5, white almost never can push c4 because b4 square will be weak. So positionally, probably a3 is better. And now, if knight will go to d5, white can play bishop a2 and to prepare c4. Now b4 square is under control. Okay, probably black has such ideas like to play b5, for example, bishop takes d5, c takes d5, queen takes b5, and now probably bishop g4 with some kind of compensation, but it's very unclear. And after b5, white has other ideas, for example, c4, b takes c4, bishop takes c4 is possible, and then try to attack c6 pawn, rook c1, queen c2, something like this. So a3 was possible. But okay, I played a4 by hand. He played knight d5, of course. So now I have problem with this knight, and not so clear how to activate my knight on h4 because knight h4, knight f5, not so good idea in such type of position. Bishop c7, then queen d7. So white has no coordination of pieces to organize real attacking king's flank. So c3 I played, more or less logical. Bishop e6. Of course, he doesn't want to play bishop g4 because of this idea, and g4 is coming. So he played bishop e6, bishop b3, normal move, queen d7. But now, what happened with me? So I have seen correct idea. So, bishop c2, normal move. So what is this? h3. So what with me? Probably my thoughts was in game 2 during this moment. So of course bishop c2 was correct move. g6 is forced. f5 is not good because knight g5 at least. So g6 is forced and bishop e6. Very natural idea. And black should play rook f e8. Bishop f5 is woes because white has queen e2, not queen d2, because rook e8. So this is comfortable position for black, but queen e2 is strong. And after rook e8, bishop f5, white is winning. So black should play rook d8, but now white has control on e line and quite pleasant position now. It's possible to play h3 or so. Okay, but why I didn't play this? Because I had illusion, okay, I will play bishop h6, but maybe somewhere in future black can play g5 and my bishop will be on danger. Okay, maybe in future, but better to calculate concrete variation and try to understand is g5 works or not. Okay, so of course, the rook fd8, this is playable position, but white that's true also that white need to follow g5 idea, but white on the move h4 even is possible. So it's playable position, maybe approximately equal, maybe slightly better. And another important idea which I have seen during the game, after natural move rook e8, I can play knight d2. So my main problem is knight. So knight d2 is strong idea, and knight is coming to e4. Oh, okay, if f5, I can play knight c4, and then knight e5 is coming, so my position is good. So bishop f5, more or less, knight e4. I have seen this idea during the game, but I had illusions that somewhere probably g5 is possible, but g5 never works. Okay, so black position of black is solid enough. There is alarm now in Lviv, sorry. Okay, black can take, and then play f5, but okay, so queen f3. White is slightly better in this position, but maybe even not slightly after d2. So this was logical idea. I'm playing without risk. And I have seen this idea during the game. Why I didn't play this, I cannot to show any logical explanation. Is it everything okay? Так, все добре, от якраз де повітряна тривога. So I should play this, bishop c2, bishop h6, knight d2 idea, everything was okay. Okay, maybe I'm slightly better. I cannot tell that okay, black can play bishop f8, for example. Nothing special. After bishop f8, I can take on f8. Maybe bishop d2 is also possible to prepare f3. I have just a playable, comfortable position. But from this moment, I started to play like total amateur. So h3, what is this? So bishop f5, queen f1, what I'm doing? h5 he played. So now it's unpleasant because he wants to play g5 and g4, but so I played bishop d1. So okay, maybe rook c1 was better. To prepare bishop c2, at least try to exchange this bishop. Probably it's possible hold this position, although it's quite unpleasant. But I played bishop d1, g5, knight h2. What I am doing? It looks like. I'm totally collapsed, and it was true. King g7. Is that everything okay again? I mean on the stream. In position, I'm not okay. Алло. Алло. Allo. Okay, so king g7, good move. I took on h5. I didn't like my position. It's bad position. I took on h5, rook h8, and now I realized that after bishop f3 he can take, and after this, my bishop is hanging, and I cannot play knight g4. It was only, yes, a huge difference if compare with position after bishop c4 and bishop h6. And what I start to do is a total collapse. And I took, and I realized that after bishop f3 he can take on h3. And my bishop is hanging. I cannot play knight g4. So I played bishop e2, and I totally missed rook takes h3. So, okay, only explanation that I was in knockdown after game 2. So rook takes h3. And okay, I should take. I have no choice. Bishop takes h3. Now my queen is trapped, so bishop g4 is only move, but not helps. Now the most stubborn idea was to play f3, but any... Ну так, на h5 не треба було брати, але все одно позиція погана. Bishop h6 and bishop h2, but in my game it doesn't work. Okay, so bishop h6 doesn't work because g takes h6, bishop c2, f5, or so now it's too much. Or bishop f5 immediately. So bishop c2 was, yes, here not possible, yes. You are right, but okay, what I played, so it was rook takes h3, blow to my head. Okay, I have no choice. I was this idea if takes rook h1 check, black is winning. Okay, but at least I can try rook f1. Okay, queen h7, black should be winning, but at least not so obvious like in the game. So I took on h3 after rook h8. I just resigned. Okay, probably it was possible to continue to play, but my position is totally hopeless because very bad king. Black has material advantage as well, very good coordination between queen and knight, so objectively I am totally losing. So it was start of my match. Thanks for your attention, and in my next report I will show how this match was continued after game 3, and also interesting that I am playing correspondence game in drafts, in lead drafts org. I am playing against Flippy. You can see my nickname in lead drafts org is Nefertiti13. I will write. And against this opponent, he is African player. I have score 0-3 till now. Same like after 3 games against Duda. And I'm playing correspondence game. I will write after finish the stream my nickname and this game. So everybody can see it. If somebody is interested how I am playing in international drafts. So I hope to fight against Flippy. and I hope do it more successfully that I continued my match against Duda. But anyway, I will demonstrate all of game from this match. I would be happy if Jack Nicholson can see him and can be with us because it was something very, very strange. Many of my decisions in this match was very strange. Дякую за побажання мирного неба. Всім гарного вечора. Thanks a lot for subscription. Thanks a lot for all of my subscribers to support me. I will try to be care and I will try to continue my chess activity. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.